You have probably lived through entire disasters today that never actually happened. You may have opened your phone expecting something to be wrong before you had any evidence that anything was wrong. You may have looked at a message and studied the space between the words as though silence had hidden meaning. You may have noticed that someone took longer than usual to answer and felt your mind begin building an explanation before reality had offered one. You may have walked through an ordinary hour while another part of you quietly prepared for rejection, disappointment, bad news, an argument, a financial problem, a sudden change, or the possibility that something good would disappear the moment you relaxed around it. Sometimes this happens so quickly that you do not even call it worry. You call it being realistic. You call it staying prepared. You tell yourself that you are only thinking ahead. You tell yourself it is better to expect less. You tell yourself that if you imagine the painful outcome first, then somehow it will hurt less if it arrives. There may even be a part of you that believes peace makes you careless. That part has been awake for a long time. It watches the face across the table and asks whether the expression changed. It hears a different tone in someone's voice and begins searching for what you did wrong. It sees an unexpected email and feels the stomach tighten before the message is even opened. It watches a peaceful week unfold and starts wondering when the other shoe is going to drop. It hears good news and immediately asks what could ruin it. It receives affection and looks for the expiration date. It starts something meaningful and quietly prepares for embarrassment. It gets close to what it wanted and suddenly imagines losing it. It stands inside moments that are still whole while mentally rehearsing how they might break. You may know this feeling very well. The strange thing is that from the outside, you can look completely calm. You can answer people normally. You can finish your work. You can make dinner. You can laugh at something on your screen. You can tell someone, "I'm fine." Meanwhile, the mind has opened another room entirely. Inside that room, conversations are happening that no one has spoken. People are leaving who have not left. Doors are closing that are still open. Mistakes are being punished that have not been made. Future mornings are already difficult. Future bills are already impossible. Future relationships are already disappointing. Future opportunities are already gone. The mind gets there first, not because it knows the future, because it is trying to prevent surprise. That distinction matters more than it may seem right now. There is a voice in you that may have been mistaken for wisdom for a very long time. It sounds serious. It sounds responsible. It sounds as though it is helping you survive by showing you everything that could go wrong. You do not have to recover a perfect story. You do not have to prove where the fear began. Just see the smaller hands. They have been holding themselves empty for a long time. They may have learned to grip when voices changed. They may have learned to become still when adults became tense. They may have learned to watch carefully before asking for something. They may have learned to read a face before trusting a room. They may have learned that good moments could be interrupted. They may have learned that plans changed. They may have learned that love and uncertainty could exist beside each other. They may have learned that sometimes nobody explained what was happening until after the body had already felt it. Those smaller hands did not know how to create security. They only knew how to reach for clues. A look, a tone, a sound from another room, a delayed response, a closed door, a number on a bill, an expression at the dinner table, a silence that lasted slightly longer than usual. That kind of attention can become brilliant. A child can become very good at reading what nobody is saying. The ability may later be praised as sensitivity, intuition, awareness, responsibility, maturity. Some of it may truly be useful. But when the old fear is running the system, sensitivity can become surveillance. Awareness can become scanning. Responsibility can become over-responsibility. Preparation can become punishment. You begin trying to detect the bad outcome before it forms. And underneath all of that effort are those smaller hands, still waiting. For what? Not for a complete map, not for a guarantee, not for proof that everybody will stay, not for an explanation of every past hurt, not for a future without uncertainty. They are waiting to feel that the grown hands are here now. That is the trance fee. Bug. Your grown hands do not throw the candle toward them. They do not demand that the smaller hands stop shaking first. They do not say, "You should know better by now." They do not say, "Look at everything we have survived. Why are you still afraid?" They lower the flame carefully, slow enough that the smaller hands can feel the warmth before they carry anything. There is no rush. The grown hands know what the smaller hands never knew. Light does not have to be held tightly to remain light. You do not have to squeeze warmth to keep it near. You do not have to clutch certainty, because certainty was never what made you safe. Presence did. Response did. Support did. Learning did. Boundaries did. Resourcefulness did. The ability to ask for help did. The ability to leave what was harmful did. The ability to return to yourself after disappointment did. Fear may have taken credit for all of these things. It may say, "See, worry protected you." But look more closely. When a difficult moment actually happened, what carried you through it? Was it the 100 imagined versions from the week before? Or was it what you did when the real moment arrived? You called someone, you found information, you cried, you rested, you made a decision, you asked another question, you changed the plan, you endured an uncomfortable hour, you found a professional, you set a limit, you admitted that you needed help, you waited for more facts, you left, you stayed where staying was healthy, you tried again, you adjusted, you learned, you survived something you had never rehearsed accurately because real life rarely follows the script fear writes. This is one of the quiet truths catastrophic thinking does not like to admit. Your imagined suffering has often been less useful than your real capacity. Fear says, "I kept you prepared," but your strength may have been somewhere else entirely, in your responsiveness, in your ability to meet what actually happened in the grown hands. That changes the whole relationship. You do not have to fire fear from its job overnight. You can give it a smaller job. Fear can alert you. It cannot be the director of every future scene. Concern can raise a question. It does not get to answer the question without evidence. Instinct can tell you to pay attention. It does not need to turn attention into prophecy. There is a difference between hearing a smoke alarm and burning down the house in your imagination. There is a difference between taking sensible precautions and emotionally moving into disaster before disaster exists. The candle helps you feel that difference. Fear tries to flood the entire future with harsh white light. The candle gives enough illumination for one honest decision. Fear says, know everything now. The candle says, see what is here. Fear says, prepare for every ending. The candle says, respond to the next true thing. Fear says, if you stop scanning, you will be helpless. The candle says, your hands are not helpless. That last sentence may be the one some part of you needs time to trust. Your hands are not helpless. They may not control everything. That is different. Control and capacity are not the same thing. You can lack control over another person and still have capacity. You can lack control over an outcome and still have capacity. You can lack control over timing and still have capacity. You can lack control over whether somebody understands you and still have capacity. You can lack control over change and still have choices. This is what fear often hides from you. It tells you that if you cannot control the outcome, you have nothing. Then it offers worry as a substitute for control. Worry creates activity. Activity feels like doing something. Doing something can feel safer than waiting. So the mind keeps producing scenarios because scenarios keep the hands busy. But these are not the hands that need more work. The smaller hands need warmth. The grown hands need permission to trust their own response. Imagine the transfer again. The flame lowers. The smaller hands move closer. At first, they might close around it too quickly. Of course they might. They have spent years believing warmth can disappear. They have spent years expecting good things to leave. They have learned that if something matters, it must be guarded. So they cup the candle with too much tension. The grown hands do not punish them for that. They stay nearby. This matters. The purpose of the image is not to make the younger part responsible for becoming calm. The responsibility belongs with the grown hands. The grown hands say through their presence, I am here. Not forever in the abstract, here, in this moment. I can read what is in front of me. I can ask what I need to ask. I can make the next decision when there is a decision to make. I can seek support when something exceeds what I can carry alone. I can say no. I can change my mind. I can learn from new information. I can be disappointed without becoming nothing. I can be uncertain without disappearing. I can feel fear without handing fear the pen. That is what adulthood can offer the smaller hands. Not perfect outcomes. Relationship. An inner relationship that does not vanish the moment uncertainty appears. Perhaps this is why rehearsing the worst has never completely satisfied the worried part. It gives that part scenes, but it does not give companionship. It gives predictions, but it does not give presence. It gives imagined answers, but it does not give the feeling of being held through not knowing. The mind can write 1,000 disaster stories and his smaller hands remain empty. Then the mind concludes it must write another. This is why reassurance can become addictive without ever becoming enough. You tell yourself the feared thing probably will not happen. Relief comes. Then another possibility appears. You reassure yourself again. Another possibility, another answer, another attempt to prove safety. The mind keeps asking for certainty because certainty is the wrong medicine for the deeper need. What if the deeper need is not, tell me nothing bad will happen? What if it is, tell me I will not disappear if something difficult happens? Those are very different requests. The first can never be fully answered. The second can be practiced. You cannot promise the smaller hands that nobody will disappoint them. You can show them that disappointment will not make you turn against yourself. You cannot promise there will never be uncertainty around money. You can show them that numbers can be faced, plans can be made, advice can be sought, and fear does not have to become identity. You cannot promise the body will never need care. You can show them that concerns can be taken seriously without turning every sensation into a catastrophe. You cannot promise that every relationship lasts. You can show them that love does not require self-erasure. You cannot promise every opportunity opens. You can show them that one closed door does not remove your worth. The candle is not the promise that everything outside you will cooperate. It is the evidence that you can remain in relationship with yourself while life remains alive and changeable. That is why the flame is passed inward, not outward. You have probably spent enough time trying to get other people to hold the light in exactly the right way. Answer me quickly so I can feel safe. Choose me clearly so I can relax. Never change so I do not have to worry. Promise me forever so I can stop imagining loss. Approve of me so I can stop questioning myself. Tell me the result so I can finally breathe. These wishes are understandable. Connection matters. Reliability matters. Clear communication matters. Healthy reassurance matters. But when every bit of inner light must come from somebody else's hands, uncertainty becomes unbearable. The smallest delay feels like darkness. The smallest change feels like abandonment. The smallest unknown feels like proof that something is slipping away. Passing the candle inward does not mean you stop needing people. It means other people no longer have to perform the impossible job of making uncertainty disappear from human life. You can love someone and still hold your own flame. You can receive reassurance and still hold your own flame. You can ask for clarity and still hold your own flame. You can depend on trustworthy people in healthy ways and still hold your own flame. You can be part of a community and still know where your inner warmth lives. This is not emotional isolation. It is the opposite. When you are not demanding that every relationship remove all uncertainty, connection has more room to breathe. You can hear what another person actually says instead of only listening for danger. You can ask a question because you want information, not because you need the answer to rescue you from every old fear at once. You can let affection reach you before interrogating its permanence. You can enjoy what is here without requiring a certificate that says it can never change. There is wisdom in enjoying what is real while it is real. Fear often calls this foolishness. It says, "Do not get comfortable." Why? Because comfort can be taken away. It says, "Do not celebrate yet." Why? Because something could go wrong. It says, "Do not trust the peace." Why? Because peace has ended before. Listen to the logic. Fear is trying to make sure you never lose peace by preventing you from having it fully. It is trying to prevent disappointment by limiting joy. It is trying to prevent grief by limiting attachment. It is trying to prevent surprise by limiting rest. It is trying to prevent hurt by making sure part of you is always already hurting. That strategy deserves compassion. It does not deserve lifelong authority. The grown hands can recognize why it began and still choose differently. There is an important difference between forcing positivity and making room for possibility. Forced positivity says nothing bad can happen. That is not what we are doing. Possibility says, the worst thing I imagined is not the only available future. Forced positivity says, I must feel good. Possibility says, I do not have enough information to punish myself with certainty. Forced positivity says, everything will work exactly as I want. Possibility says, I can respond to what becomes real. This is far more grounded. It does not ask you to lie. It asks you to stop giving fear exclusive rights to the blank page. Imagine an unanswered message. The old mind writes, they are upset. They regret talking to me. I said too much. I have ruined this. They are pulling away. The candle does not replace those lines with, "They adore me. Everything is perfect. Nothing is wrong." The candle says, "The message is unanswered." That is what I know. I can wait for more information. My hands are still here. Do you feel the difference? One approach creates another fantasy. The other returns you to reality. Now imagine a work situation. You receive a short email asking to talk tomorrow. The old reflex can produce an entire career collapse before dinner. You replay recent meetings. You inspect every small mistake. You remember something you said 2 weeks ago. You imagine being criticized. You imagine losing income. You imagine explaining everything to your family. You imagine months of difficulty. Nothing has happened except an email. The candle does not tell you the meeting will be wonderful. It says, "There is a meeting tomorrow. I can prepare what is useful. I can gather facts. I can rest when preparation is complete. Tomorrow can arrive before I decide what tomorrow contains." That is strength without fantasy. Imagine receiving good news. Something is finally moving. The old mind may immediately ask what could undo it. Instead, your grown hands can hold the moment without demanding permanence. This is good now. I can receive what is good now. If something changes later, I will meet later when it becomes now. That is not carelessness. That is refusing to make every blessing audition for its own funeral. You deserve moments that are not immediately followed by imagined endings. You deserve to hear kind words without instantly wondering when they will be withdrawn. You deserve to complete something and feel proud before reviewing every flaw. You deserve to enter a peaceful room without mentally checking for exits unless there is a genuine reason to do so. You deserve to enjoy an ordinary afternoon without asking fear whether ordinary peace is permitted. The smaller hands may not understand this at first. They have been trained by repetition. Rehearsal itself became familiar, and familiar can feel safer than peaceful. That can be confusing. Sometimes, when worry begins to loosen, you may feel more exposed rather than less. You may think, "I am forgetting something." You may have the urge to return to the problem. You may reopen the message, recheck the account, replay the conversation, search again. Ask someone for reassurance. Run through one more version. The mind is looking for its old job. This does not mean the new way is failing. It means the old movement is practiced. The smaller hands may still reach for the familiar grip. The grown hands stay. They do not need to wrestle the smaller hands open. They keep the flame near. Warmth teaches through repetition, too. Not mechanical repetition, lived repetition. Again, in the sense that tomorrow brings another real moment and the grown hands are there. Another uncertainty appears and the grown hands are there. Another good thing arrives and the grown hands do not immediately snatch it away with suspicion. Another difficult feeling rises, and the grown hands do not become cruel. Another question remains unanswered for a while. and the grown hands do not turn uncertainty into catastrophe. Over time, the smaller hands begin learning a new association. Not knowing does not always mean danger. Waiting does not always mean abandonment. Calm does not always mean something terrible is hiding. Hope does not make me foolish. Goodness does not need to be distrusted before it can be received. Learning is not a magical switch. It is relationship. The candle keeps passing inward. Your grown hands become more familiar. Their warmth becomes recognizable. The smaller hands begin to understand that they do not need to predict every possible pain because somebody capable is finally present with them. That somebody is you, not the perfect you, not some future healed version of you. You as you are becoming right now. A person who can distinguish a real problem from an imagined one. A person who can take action without feeding panic. A person who can admit uncertainty without calling it doom. A person who can ask for support without calling that weakness. A person who can enjoy what is good without demanding proof that it will last forever. A person who is learning that readiness does not have to feel like fear. That word matters. Readiness. Fear has claimed it for a long time. Fear says readiness means bracing. Readiness means imagining. Readiness means scanning. Readiness means never being surprised. Readiness means having an emotional response prepared before reality gives you a question. But there may be another kind of readiness, one that begins in the hands rather than in the rehearsal. One that says, I do not know everything. I do know how to meet myself. I cannot predict every turn. I can respond when a real turn arrives. I cannot remove uncertainty from life. I can stop turning uncertainty into punishment. The smaller hands are beginning to feel that distinction now. They have not released their grip completely. They do not need to. There is something they still believe the flame requires from them. Something about how tightly it must be held. Something about what will happen if they loosen even a little. That belief is where we go next, because it is also where one of the strongest old habits begins to lose its authority. The smaller hands believe the flame will disappear if they stop gripping. That belief makes perfect sense when you understand what those hands have lived through. If warmth once felt unpredictable, you hold tightly. If reassurance once came and went, you hold tightly. If safety depended on reading the room correctly, you hold tightly. If something good once disappeared without warning, you hold tightly. You do not grip because you are difficult. You grip because some part of you learned that loosening your hold could mean losing what matters. This is where fear becomes confused with devotion. You care about someone, so you monitor the relationship. You care about your work, so you imagine failure. You care about your health, so every uncertainty becomes a possible crisis. You care about money, so your mind runs calculations long after useful planning has finished. You care about the future, so you try to live there before it arrives. You care about peace, so you become suspicious of anything that might disturb it. The tighter you grip, the more responsible you can feel. The more scenarios you imagine, the more prepared you can feel. The more possibilities you inspect, the more convinced you become that vigilance is keeping everything together. But there is a quiet question hidden inside all of this. What if the gripping is not holding the flame? What if the flame was never asking to be squeezed? Think about how a candle behaves. It does not become steadier because hands clench around it. It does not become safer because every movement is controlled. It needs space. It needs enough care to remain upright. It needs protection from what is genuinely harmful. It does not need panic. Your inner life can be like that. Care has a place. Attention has a place. Planning has a place. Discernment has a place. Boundaries have a place. What does not have to remain in charge is the belief that tension is proof you are taking life seriously. You can take your life seriously without frightening yourself all day. You can respect uncertainty without worshiping it. You can prepare without pre-suffering. You can love without rehearsing loss as evidence of how much you love. You can be responsible without asking your body to live in tomorrow's emergency. You can pay attention without staring into every shadow and naming it disaster. There is a difference between holding something with care and gripping it because you are terrified it will disappear. The smaller hands are learning that difference, and the grown hands are teaching it without force. Imagine them around the smaller ones, not closing them, supporting them. There is room around the flame. Warmth remains. Nothing terrible happens because the grip softens. This may seem like a small image, but it touches something enormous. For years, the mind may have been trying to protect you by tightening around possibility. If I expect less, I cannot be crushed. If I prepare for betrayal, I cannot be fooled. If I assume the worst, I cannot be shocked. If I worry about money constantly, I will never become careless. If I imagine every health problem, I will catch danger early. If I rehearse every conversation, I will never be speechless. If I keep my hopes small, I will never fall far. Each one contains the same hidden belief. Tension keeps me ready. That is the belief we have been approaching from the beginning. The voice that kept showing you the worst was not truly asking for another prediction. It was asking, will somebody be here if I do not know? It was asking, will I still be protected if I stop scanning? It was asking, can I loosen my grip without being abandoned? It was asking, if something difficult happens, will the grown hands still be here? That is the open question underneath so much catastrophic rehearsal. And now it can finally receive a different answer. Yes, the grown hands remain, not because they know what will happen, because they know how to stay present when something happens. That is what the smaller hands have been waiting to discover. Preparation was never supposed to mean predicting every pain. Preparation can mean having a relationship with yourself that survives uncertainty. It can mean knowing where to turn for help, knowing when to ask a question, knowing when to stop searching because you have enough information for today, knowing when fear has crossed the line from useful signal into repetitive suffering, knowing that you can feel disappointment without becoming your disappointment, knowing that you can receive difficult news and still have choices about what comes next, knowing that one person's reaction does not define your entire value, knowing that one difficult outcome does not erase all future possibility. This is readiness with warmth in it. Readiness without punishment. Readiness without the exhausting requirement to be emotionally injured before life has done anything. Some part of you may resist that word, ready. It may hear ready and think tension. It may hear ready and see every muscle tightened. It may hear ready and imagine staying 3 steps ahead. It may think readiness means never relaxing enough to be surprised. That association may have been reinforced for years, so we do not need to rip the word away from fear. We can teach it another meaning. Ready can mean available. Ready can mean resourced. Ready can mean awake to what is true without inventing what is not. Ready can mean knowing that support exists. Ready can mean capable of adjusting. Ready can mean willing to learn. Ready can mean able to say, I do not know yet. Ready can mean letting tomorrow give you tomorrow's information. That kind of readiness feels very different in the body. It is not a clenched jaw. It is not a stomach braced against an imaginary blow. It is not an exhausted mind rehearsing 20 endings. It is the grown hands around the candle, steady enough, warm enough, present enough. This is the line I want to place carefully in those hands now. I do not have to rehearse the worst to be ready for life. Do not rush past the sentence. Listen for the word that creates resistance. For many people, it will be ready. A part of you may immediately answer, but worrying is how I stay prepared. That part deserves to be heard. It may have evidence. It may remember moments when paying attention mattered. It may remember times when trusting too quickly hurt. It may remember being told not to worry right before something difficult happened. We are not dismissing any of that. We are separating readiness from torment. Useful readiness can gather facts. Useful readiness can make plans. Useful readiness can ask questions. Useful readiness can recognize patterns. Useful readiness can listen to qualified guidance. Useful readiness can leave unsafe situations. Useful readiness can create savings when possible. Useful readiness can schedule the appointment. Useful readiness can ask for clarity. Useful readiness can prepare what is actually preparable. Then it can stop. Fear struggles with stopping. That is one of the clearest differences. Fear keeps working after the work is complete. You sent the necessary email, and fear continues drafting imaginary replies. You made the appointment, and fear begins interpreting results that do not exist yet. You prepared for the meeting, and fear keeps putting you on trial. You made the financial plan, and fear turns one uncertain month into an entire ruined future. You had the conversation, and fear searches every word for evidence that you said the wrong thing. You made the best choice available, and fear demands that you somehow prove the choice cannot ever lead to discomfort. Readiness says, I have done what belongs to this moment. Fear says, keep going until uncertainty disappears. Uncertainty does not disappear, so fear never clocks out. This is why the grown hands matter. They know when enough is enough. They can say, there may be more to do later, but there is nothing useful to do in this minute. They can say, I will respond when there is something real to respond to. They can say, my mind is producing possibilities, not facts. They can say, I can care without continuing this rehearsal. This is not denial. It is discernment. And discernment is often much quieter than fear. Fear announces. Discernment observes. Fear repeats. Discernment identifies. Fear demands immediate certainty. Discernment asks what evidence exists. Fear creates 10 emergencies. Discernment looks for the one real next step. You may begin noticing that fear likes volume. It believes urgency makes a thought more true. It may repeat something until repetition itself feels like proof. What if this goes wrong? What if they leave? What if I fail? What if the result is bad? What if I cannot handle it? The question repeats and the body reacts. Then the reaction becomes part of the story. This feels terrible, therefore the danger must be close. But feelings can be real without being predictions. Your fear can be real while the feared event remains uncertain. Your sadness can be real without proving that you have lost what you love. Your nervousness can be real without proving that you are making a mistake. Your discomfort can be real without proving that disaster is approaching. This distinction gives the smaller hands room. They do not have to deny what they feel. They only stop being required to turn feeling into prophecy. The flame can tremble without going out. That may be 1-0 for the most useful things this image can teach you. A flicker is not failure. A difficult thought does not mean you have returned to the beginning. An anxious morning does not erase what you are learning. A sudden fear does not mean the old way has won. A candle can move and still remain lit. You can feel uncertain and remain connected to yourself. You can have a difficult day and still be changing. You can catch yourself rehearsing the worst halfway through the rehearsal and choose not to finish the scene. You do not need perfect mental discipline. You only need to become increasingly able to recognize when imagination has crossed from preparation into unnecessary pain. There might be a moment later today when you see this clearly. Your mind may start producing an ending. You may feel the familiar pull. There may be an urge to solve it, to check, to interpret, to run the conversation, to imagine the result. The old habit may say, "Finish thinking this through." Instead, you can ask a different question. Is there anything real for me to do now? Later, we are going to look much more closely at what that voice is actually asking for. It may not be asking for another prediction. It may be asking for something you were never taught to give it. For now, nothing is required of you. You do not need to fix your thinking while you listen. You do not need to force yourself into optimism. You do not need to prove that you trust life. You do not need to replace every difficult thought with a positive sentence before you are permitted to continue. This is not another assignment. There is no test waiting at the end. You are not being graded on how peaceful you can become. You do not have to make your body relax on command. You do not have to forgive anyone before you are ready. You do not have to pretend that painful possibilities do not exist. You do not have to become the person who never worries. That is not the invitation here. The invitation is much quieter. You are being given room to see the difference between preparing for what is real and suffering through what has not happened. Those are not the same thing. A real problem can ask for a real response. A real bill may need a plan. A difficult conversation may need honesty. A health concern may need professional attention. An unsafe situation may require distance, boundaries, help, or a safe way out. A work problem may need a decision. A relationship may require clear questions. Life does sometimes ask you to respond. But there is another kind of activity that looks like preparation and feels nothing like it. It happens after every useful action has already been taken. You sent the message, and then you imagined 5 terrible replies. You made the appointment, and then you spent the next 3 days mentally writing the worst result. You checked the bank account, made the budget, handled what could be handled, and then the mind continued spending fear long after the practical work ended. You apologized honestly, and then you rehearsed being rejected anyway. You told the truth, and then you pictured losing everyone because of it. You did your best at work, and then you built a private courtroom where every small error became evidence that your whole future was unstable. You locked the door and then checked it in your mind. You made a reasonable choice and then reopened the choice 50 times, trying to guarantee that no painful outcome could ever follow. This is where exhaustion begins to disguise itself as responsibility. You may have learned to confuse vigilance with love. You worry because you care. You imagine loss because the person matters. You expect the worst because the opportunity means something. You mentally prepare for bad news because you are afraid of being caught helpless. You lower your hope because disappointment once hurt deeply. You stop yourself from getting excited because excitement makes you feel exposed. If there is, do it. If there is not, let the grown hands return to the candle. You do not have to replace the frightening thought with a beautiful thought. You can let the frightening thought remain uncompleted. That is a powerful change. You do not need to finish every story your fear begins. The mind says, "What if they never respond?" You do not have to answer. The mind says, "What if everything falls apart?" You do not have to construct the collapse. The mind says, "What if this good thing disappears?" You do not have to attend the imaginary funeral of something that is still alive. The thought can stop at the question mark. A question mark is not an emergency. Sometimes freedom looks like refusing to write the next sentence. The grown hands know this. They do not grab the pencil every time fear dictates. They keep holding the flame. The smaller hands begin to discover something surprising. The future does not collapse because you stop predicting it. The people you love do not become less loved because you stop imagining losing them. Your responsibilities do not disappear because you stop punishing yourself with them. Your intelligence does not vanish because you rest. Your awareness does not disappear because you stop scanning. Your ability to protect yourself does not vanish because you no longer practice pain every day. This can feel almost rebellious when worry has been part of your identity. You may have been the person who thinks of everything, the one who prepares, the one who catches problems, the one who remembers, the one who anticipates, the one everyone relies on. There may be pride woven into vigilance. That pride is not wrong. Your attentiveness may be a real strength. The work is not to become careless. It is to stop making your strengths injure you. Awareness can serve you without consuming you. Planning can serve you without owning every evening. Sensitivity can serve you without forcing you to read danger into every silence. Responsibility can serve you without convincing you that everything depends on your ability to predict it. Your strengths become cleaner when fear no longer has to operate them. The same intelligence that once built catastrophic scenarios can build practical options. The same sensitivity that once scanned for rejection can recognize kindness. The same imagination that once rehearsed loss can imagine adaptation, support, creativity, and ordinary good outcomes too. You do not have to force it toward perfect optimism. Just give it a wider field. Fear says there is one possible ending. Reality has not decided yet. That is enough. I do not have to rehearse the worst to be ready for life. Say it again more gently, not to convince the frightened part by force, but to let it hear a sentence it may never have been offered before. I do not have to rehearse the worst to be ready for life. Some part of you might answer no. Let it. You are not trying to win an argument. If the full sentence feels too far away, there is a smaller doorway. I am willing to learn that readiness can feel different from fear. Willingness is enough. You do not have to believe the whole new way today. You do not have to feel peaceful while saying it. You do not have to prove that you have changed. You can be uncertain about the sentence and still become curious about it. What would readiness feel like if it were not fear? Would it feel like having the phone number you need rather than checking your phone constantly? Would it feel like a clear budget rather than imagining financial disaster throughout the day? Would it feel like asking the question rather than analyzing someone's face? Would it feel like going to the appointment rather than researching frightening possibilities for hours? Would it feel like knowing your boundary before a difficult conversation rather than trying to control what the other person says? Would it feel like trusting yourself to respond rather than demanding that life become predictable? These are different forms of preparation. One consumes you, the other supports you. One creates an endless rehearsal, the other gives you something usable. The smaller hands may start recognizing this slowly. They may see that the grown hands are not asking them to throw caution away. They are being offered better protection. Protection based on response rather than prophecy. Protection based on boundaries rather than bracing. Protection based on support rather than isolation. Protection based on reality rather than imagined catastrophe. This is where the flame becomes more than comfort. It becomes a standard for what deserves your energy. Does this thought illuminate something real, or is it burning energy without giving you useful light? Does this scenario help you make a decision, or does it only make you suffer the decision before it exists? Does this worry point toward an action, or is it repeating because there is no action available yet? Does this mental rehearsal help you communicate, or are you trying to control another person's response before they have even spoken? That is discernment. You can use it without becoming cold. You can use it without shaming your frightened part. You can say, I see what you are trying to do. Then, there is nothing more for us to solve right now. This may be one of the kindest boundaries you ever set. Not only boundaries with people, a boundary with endless prediction, a boundary with the internal demand that every unknown must become a problem. A boundary with the belief that suffering early gives you an advantage. Your mind may protest. It may say, "But what if I relax and something goes wrong?" Something could go wrong whether you rehearse it or not. That truth may sound uncomfortable at first. It is also liberating. Because if rehearsal cannot control the outcome, then you are free to evaluate it by a different standard. Does it help? Sometimes thinking through a real possibility helps. Do it. Sometimes contingency planning helps. Do it. Sometimes learning the facts helps. Do it. Sometimes seeking qualified advice helps. Do it. And sometimes nothing useful is happening. You are only hurting in advance. That is the moment the grown hands can intervene. Enough for now. The candle is still here. The smaller hands do not need another catastrophe to hold. They need the experience of discovering that uncertainty can pass through an hour without becoming a disaster. They need to discover that a delayed answer can remain delayed without being translated into rejection. They need to discover that a peaceful morning can remain peaceful without being inspected for hidden punishment. They need to discover that hope can enter without immediately being interrogated. They need lived evidence, not one giant breakthrough. Many ordinary moments in which fear predicts pain and you do not obey the full prediction. A message takes time. You wait. A plan remains uncertain. You keep living. A person seems quiet. You ask instead of assuming. A concern arises. You take the appropriate step and then return to your day. Something good happens. You let yourself feel some of the goodness before thinking about its end. These moments teach more than forced reassurance ever could. The smaller hands begin seeing that the grown hands know what to do. Not everything, enough. They know enough to ask, enough to seek support, enough to say no, enough to wait, enough to change course, enough to admit, "I need help with this," enough to say, "I have no useful information yet," enough to enjoy what is present, enough to leave tomorrow unopened. The grip loosens a little. There is the movement we have been waiting for. Not a dramatic release, not a perfect surrender. A little more space around the candle. The flame remains. The smaller hands register this. They loosen. The flame remains. This is new information. For a part of you that associated vigilance with survival, this is profound. I can loosen without losing the light. The grown hands remain close. I can stop predicting without losing my protection. The flame remains. I can let a question stay unanswered without disappearing inside the question. The warmth remains. This is how trust can be rebuilt. Not trust that life will obey you. Trust that you can meet life without abandoning reality for catastrophe. And now another question begins to appear. If the smaller hands no longer have to spend all their strength gripping the flame, what can those hands finally receive? They have been occupied for so long, occupied with warning, occupied with monitoring, occupied with holding on, occupied with trying to keep loss away. When the grip softens, there is space, and that space changes what can arrive inwardly. Not because positive thinking controls the outside world, not because every desire becomes guaranteed, because hands that are no longer closed around fear become capable of recognizing warmth, support, kindness, opportunity, rest, clarity, and good moments when they are actually present. That is where we are going next. Before we go there, let one sentence remain close enough to return to when the old rehearsal begins. I am willing to learn that readiness can feel different from fear. You do not need more than willingness right now. The flame does not need you to grip it. The grown hands are still here, and the smaller hands have just discovered that opening a little does not make the light disappear. That little opening changes more than you might expect. For a long time, so much of your inner energy may have been devoted to preventing pain that receiving anything good became strangely difficult. Not because you did not want goodness, because receiving asks the hands to open. And opening can feel risky when gripping once felt like protection. Think about how quickly a good moment can be interrupted by suspicion. Someone says something kind. For 1 second, it lands. Then the mind asks what they really meant. An opportunity appears. For 1 second, excitement rises. Then the mind searches for the hidden problem. You have a calm morning. For 1 second, the body settles. Then another part asks whether you forgot something important. A relationship feels warm. You begin to enjoy it. Then fear whispers that becoming comfortable will make eventual loss more painful. Money feels a little steadier. The mind immediately projects the next expense. Your body feels better after a difficult stretch. The mind begins checking whether the relief is trustworthy. Something works. Fear asks when it will stop working. Someone stays. Fear asks when they will leave. You receive. Fear prepares for removal. This is how a life can contain goodness while the nervous system remains too busy guarding against its disappearance to fully register that goodness is present. The smaller hands have been trained to hold on. They have not yet learned how to receive without clutching. There is a difference. Receiving does not mean assuming that whatever arrives will last forever. It means letting what is true now reach you now. Someone is kind to you. You can receive the kindness. You do not have to turn it into a lifetime prediction. Something goes well. You can receive the relief. You do not have to guarantee that every future thing will also go well. An ordinary afternoon feels peaceful. You can let peace touch you. You do not need proof that tomorrow will be peaceful too. A door opens. You can walk through what is actually open. You do not have to know where every hallway leads before taking one honest step. This is what the grown hands understand. They do not confuse receiving with surrendering discernment. They do not confuse trust with blindness. They do not confuse hope with certainty. They do not confuse openness with having no boundaries. They simply know that constant suspicion is not the only form of intelligence available to you. There is wisdom in seeing danger when danger is real. There is also wisdom in seeing kindness when kindness is real. There is wisdom in noticing an unhealthy pattern. There is also wisdom in noticing consistency. There is wisdom in preparing for a difficult possibility. There is also wisdom in letting an ordinary good day remain ordinary and good. Fear often presents itself as the mature voice because it speaks in warnings. But maturity is wider than warning. Maturity can distinguish. This person has shown me that they are not safe for me. That matters. This person has shown me consistency over time. That matters too. This financial situation needs attention. That matters. This imagined financial disaster is not happening today. That matters too. This physical symptom deserves proper care. That matters. The frightening conclusion my mind added before I have reliable information is not the same as a diagnosis. That matters too. This relationship needs a boundary. That matters. The belief that every disagreement means abandonment may belong to an older wound. That matters too. The grown hands can hold more than one truth. That is what makes them grown. They do not need life to become black or white, safe or doomed, perfect or ruined, loved or rejected, successful or finished. They can live in the wider middle where most human life actually happens. Something can be uncertain and seen, ill-contained possibility. Something can be difficult and still be manageable. Someone can disappoint you without defining your entire future. You can make a mistake without becoming a mistake. A plan can change without your life collapsing. A relationship can require repair without automatically being over. An opportunity can close without proving that no other opportunity exists. The body can need care without every sensation becoming a catastrophe. A financial challenge can be serious without becoming a prophecy about the rest of your life. This wider middle can feel unfamiliar because fear likes extremes. Extremes create certainty. If everything is ruined, at least the mind knows what story to tell. If nobody can be trusted, at least there is nothing to evaluate. If every good thing ends badly, at least hope can be avoided. If every symptom is terrible, At least uncertainty is gone. Catastrophic thinking often prefers a painful certainty to an open question. The candle offers another possibility. Enough light to evaluate what is here. Enough warmth to remain connected to yourself while you evaluate it. Enough space to let facts arrive before conclusions harden. The smaller hands begin to understand why opening does not mean becoming defenseless. The grown hands are still around them. That is the part fear used to leave out. It used to tell you there were only two choices: grip everything tightly or lose control, expect disappointment or be naive, watch everyone carefully or get hurt, prepare for catastrophe or become helpless. But there has always been another option: open hands with grown hands around them, softness with discernment, hope with boundaries, connection with self-respect, trust with observation, rest with responsibility. This is not about becoming available to everything. It is about becoming available to what is healthy without forcing your body to remain available to what harms you. There are places where opening is not the right response. There are relationships where distance is wisdom. There are situations where your body is telling you something important about safety. There are environments that require boundaries, documentation, support, professional guidance, or a clear exit. Peace does not mean staying where you are being harmed. Compassion does not require access. Forgiveness, if it ever becomes meaningful for you, does not require returning to unsafe conditions. Self-love can look like a closed door. It can look like blocking a number. It can look like saying, "That does not work for me." It can look like calling someone you trust. It can look like leaving the room. It can look like asking for medical care. It can look like speaking with a qualified mental health professional when fear, trauma, anxiety, grief, or other emotional pain is becoming too heavy to carry alone. It can look like getting appropriate financial or legal guidance instead of trying to solve serious problems through affirmations. Words like these can support your sense of steadiness and self-respect, but they are not a replacement for medical, psychological, financial, legal, or other qualified help when that help is needed. There is no failure in seeking support. There is strength in recognizing when a problem deserves more than private endurance. The candle does not ask you to sit peacefully inside harm. It helps you see enough to move toward what protects life. The grown hands know the difference between fear that repeats old stories and information that asks for action. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do is soothe yourself. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do is make the call. Sometimes it is rest. Sometimes it is a boundary. Sometimes it is asking another person to stand beside you while you make a difficult decision. Sometimes it is walking away. Sometimes it is waiting for more facts. This is why the goal is not to silence every warning. The goal is to become capable of hearing warnings without turning every internal alarm into a prophecy. You deserve that distinction. You deserve an inner world where concern can speak without taking the whole house. You deserve a mind that can say, "This matters," without adding, Therefore, everything is about to fall apart. You deserve to protect yourself without frightening yourself unnecessarily. And you deserve to receive what is genuinely good without treating it as a trap simply because goodness once felt unstable. Imagine the smaller hands now. They are beginning to open. The candle is still there. The grown hands remain around them. For the first time, those smaller hands have room for more than the flame itself. They can feel its warmth against the palms. They can sense that the light is not demanding anything. It is not asking them to predict. It is not asking them to prove their vigilance. It is not asking them to earn care by anticipating pain. It is only present. This may be what safety begins to feel like from the inside. Not the absence of every unknown, the presence of someone who can meet the unknown with you. There is power in realizing that you are no longer asking the younger part of yourself to run the entire future. That was never its job. It was never supposed to decide which relationship would last. It was never supposed to guarantee financial security for the rest of your life. It was never supposed to interpret every physical sensation. It was never supposed to keep every person pleased. It was never supposed to prevent all mistakes. It was never supposed to predict who would stay. Those smaller hands were meant to receive care. The grown hands were meant to carry responsibility. Fear reversed those roles. It gave the small hands a clipboard and told them to watch everything. It made them responsible for detecting danger before danger arrived. It made them believe that if something went wrong, they had failed to worry correctly. That burden can begin returning to the place where it belongs. Your adult self can handle adult information. Your adult self can ask adult questions. Your adult self can make adult boundaries. Your adult self can seek adult support. The smaller hands do not need to manage tomorrow. They can hold warmth. This is where your relationship with good things can begin to change. Because when those hands are no longer occupied with predicting what will be taken away, they can recognize what is being offered. A kind conversation, a moment of relief, a useful idea, a supportive person, a small opportunity, an honest apology, a peaceful meal, a bit of progress, a clear answer, a comfortable silence, a moment when your own company feels safe, a decision that makes sense, a boundary that holds, a problem that turns out to be smaller than fear predicted, a day that does not become the catastrophe your mind rehearsed. These things may seem ordinary. Ordinary goodness is still goodness. Fear often waits for the spectacular while missing the steady. It searches for proof that life is changing dramatically. Meanwhile, change may be happening in the way your shoulders stay lower during uncertainty, in the way you do not reread one message 12 times, in the way you ask one direct question, in the way you stop writing imaginary dialogue for someone else, in the way you can enjoy an hour without examining its ending, in the way you tell yourself, I have enough information for now. in the way you let a good thing be good before asking what comes next. The candle teaches through these small moments, a little less grip, a little more room, a little more trust in the grown hands. This is not passive. It is an active change in where authority lives. Fear no longer gets automatic authority because it arrived loudly. An old memory no longer gets automatic authority because it hurt deeply. A worst-case scenario no longer gets automatic authority because it is possible. Possibility is not probability. Possibility is not prophecy. And possibility alone does not require you to suffer. The grown hands can ask, is this happening now? Do I have evidence? Is there a useful action? Is this thought asking for care, information, a boundary, or only more rehearsal? Then they can choose. This is the kind of inner leadership the smaller hands can trust, not a leader that promises perfection, a leader that remains, a leader that tells the truth, a leader that does not use fear as punishment, a leader that knows when to reach outward for help, a leader that knows when nothing more needs to be solved today. There is a vow forming here, not a dramatic promise to never woo, agree again. That would only create another impossible standard. This vow belongs entirely to the candle. It uses the language of tending rather than controlling, the language of warmth rather than warning, the language of grown hands and smaller hands rather than victory over fear. Let it settle where it belongs. I tend this flame in my grown hands, and I pass its warmth into the smaller hands within me. That is the promise. Not that the flame will never flicker, not that the smaller hands will never tighten, not that every day will feel safe. The promise is that tending becomes your work, not forecasting every danger, not rehearsing every ending, not interrogating every good moment, tending, returning to what is here, protecting what truly needs protection, feeding what supports life, keeping warmth available inwardly. This is different from the old vow fear may have made long ago. The old vow may have sounded like, nothing will ever catch me unaware, impossible, or I will see pain before it sees me, impossible, or I will never trust enough to be hurt that way again, expensive. The new vow does not demand control over life. It asks for relationship with yourself. I tend this flame in my grown hands, and I pass its warmth into the smaller hands within me. There is no punishment in that sentence, no threat, no performance, only care with responsibility. You may find that one word begins to rise as you hear this. Not the word you think you should choose, the word your inner hands actually want more room for. Peace, trust, ease, safety, clarity, courage, warmth, hope, enough, rest, receiving, or a completely different word. If one word has appeared, you can leave that word in the comments if you want to mark this moment for yourself. Just the word. Nothing else needs to be explained. Let it stand as a small sign of what your hands are making room to receive, instead of spending all their strength rehearsing pain. Then leave it there. No performance around it. No promise that you must feel that word perfectly tomorrow. It is only a direction, a little more room. That is enough. The beautiful thing about opening inwardly is that you do not need to chase goodness to prove the process is working. This is not about controlling what arrives from the outside. You cannot command people into becoming safe. You cannot force an opportunity to open. You cannot guarantee an outcome through the right thought. You cannot think yourself into total protection from every hardship. That would be another version of the same old control. The change is subtler. When your hands are not completely closed around fear, you can respond differently to what actually arrives. Kindness has somewhere to land. Help has somewhere to land. Information has somewhere to land. Opportunity has somewhere to land. Rest has somewhere to land. Even disappointment has somewhere to land, because it no longer falls onto a frightened child who has been left alone to manage the whole future. It falls into grown hands. That is the difference. Good things do not have to become bigger to become more visible. You become more available to recognize them. The friend who checks on you. The meal that nourishes you. The work you completed. The answer you finally received. The afternoon that went better than expected. The person who respected your boundary. The idea that came at the right moment. The laughter that interrupted a difficult week. The decision that brought relief. The hour when nothing went wrong. Fear rarely keeps a record of these. It is a poor historian of safety. It remembers what hurt because that information once seemed useful. You can begin keeping a wider record, not a forced gratitude exercise, not pretending the difficult things do not matter. A more accurate record. Yes, that hurt, and someone helped. Yes, I was afraid, and I handled the next step. Yes, something ended, and life continued to contain relationship, meaning, ordinary beauty, or new possibility. Yes, uncertainty remains. And this moment is not the catastrophe I imagined yesterday. Accuracy can be deeply healing. Fear is often inaccurate in only one direction. It exaggerates danger and underreports capacity. It magnifies what might leave and minimizes what remains. It catalogs mistakes and forgets adaptation. It stores rejection and overlooks the times you were welcomed. It remembers every moment you did not know what to do and forgets how often you figured something out after you arrived there. The grown hands keep a fuller account. They remember the calls you made, the choices you survived, the boundaries you learned, the times you asked for help, the times someone showed up, the times you were surprised by your own strength, the times the feared outcome never happened, the times something difficult happened and your imagined rehearsal had not predicted the actual way through anyway. This is evidence too. Fear does not own the evidence. You are permitted to include all of it. And when you include all of it, another kind of confidence begins to form. Not nothing bad will happen, something more honest. I do not need to live through it before it arrives. That confidence changes the way you meet uncertainty. You begin leaving some pages blank. You stop filling every silence. You stop writing every ending. You stop deciding what another person's expression means before asking. You stop assuming a delay has a message inside it. You stop demanding that your imagination provide information it does not possess. You become less interested in prophecy and more interested in presence. This is the beginning of another kind of spaciousness. The smaller hands are no longer clenched, they are cupped. There is a difference between those shapes. A clenched hand can defend, a cupped hand can receive. Both shapes have a place in life. You may need the strength to close your hand around a boundary. You may need to say no firmly. You may need to protect what matters, and when protection is not required, you can open. This flexibility is health, not remaining open all the time, not remaining guarded all the time. Responding to reality. The grown hands can do that. They know there is a time to hold firmly and a time to loosen, a time to act and a time to wait, a time to ask and a time to let an unanswered question remain unanswered for a while, a time to step back and a time to receive. This is how inner trust becomes practical. It is not a floating idea. It changes what you do with the next message, the next delay, the next good piece of news, the next uncomfortable feeling, the next unknown, the next moment when your mind tries to race ahead and suffer there. You tell yourself not to expect too much, not because you have no desire, but because desire makes the heart visible. Some people can receive a good moment and let it be good for an hour. You may receive a good moment and immediately start negotiating with it. How long will this last? What am I missing? Why is this happening now? What if I get used to this and lose it? What if they change their mind? What if I cannot maintain it? What if I am happy too soon? What if trusting this makes me foolish? You may not even finish one beautiful experience before preparing for its absence. That habit can become so ordinary that you stop recognizing how much energy it takes. Consider how many times the body has responded to something imaginary as though it were already happening. A thought enters. The jaw tightens. The breath becomes smaller. The chest changes. The stomach contracts. The eyes begin scanning. The shoulders rise. The hands reach for the phone. You check again. Nothing has happened. The mind produces another possibility. The body answers again. Hours can pass like this. The event exists only as a mental picture, yet the strain is real. This is one reason rehearsing the worst can feel so convincing. Your body does not always wait for proof before responding to the picture your mind is showing it. If the picture is vivid enough, the experience can begin to feel like evidence. Then a loop forms. You imagine something painful. Your body reacts. You feel the reaction. You interpret the reaction as a sign that the thought must be important. The thought becomes more believable. The body reacts again. Soon you are no longer asking, "Is this happening?" You are asking, "How am I going to survive it?" All of this can occur while reality is sitting quietly in front of you, still undecided. Maybe you know the ritual of checking the phone, checking the email, checking the bank balance, checking someone's social media, checking whether the message was read, checking whether they are online, checking whether the weather of another person's mood has shifted, checking the calendar, checking the symptoms, checking whether anything changed in the last 12 minutes, checking your own memory, checking the wording of what you said, checking the wording again. The mind says, one more look might finally create certainty. It rarely does. The next check gives relief for a moment or gives you another detail to analyze. Then uncertainty returns. What you really wanted was not information. You wanted the feeling that nothing painful could surprise you. No screen can promise that. No amount of analysis can promise that. No perfect sentence can promise that. No rehearsal can promise that. There are also the conversations you have in private, the ones in the shower, the ones while driving, the ones while trying to work. You can feel the old movement beginning, then recognize the smaller hands. They do not need another future placed inside them. They already have something warmer. The grown hands can carry tomorrow when tomorrow becomes today. And that leaves the smaller hands free for something they have needed for a very long time. Rest from responsibility that was never theirs. The body often knows when that responsibility starts to lift, not in some dramatic rush, in small physical changes. The forehead has less to calculate. The jaw has less to defend. The shoulders have less future to carry. The chest has a little more room around each feeling. The hands themselves may no longer need to grip invisible problems. The stomach may begin to understand that uncertainty is not always an emergency. The back may stop behaving as though the whole future is stacked on it. This is where we will go next, not into sleep, into the body you are carrying through the rest of your day. We will let each part of you receive the same message the smaller hands are beginning to understand. The future does not need to be carried all at once. There is enough light for what is here, and the grown hands know how to tend it. You do not have to carry tomorrow in your forehead. That may sound almost too obvious, but notice how often the mind tries to place the entire future behind the eyes. The next conversation, the next result, the next bill, the next decision, the next change in someone's mood, the next thing that could go wrong. The forehead becomes a planning table for events that have not arrived. For this moment, let it have less work. Not no thoughts, not perfect quiet, less work. You do not need to solve a problem that is not here. You do not need to answer a question nobody has asked. You do not need to calculate the emotional cost of an outcome that has not occurred. The grown hands can hold the candle while the forehead returns to what is actually in front of you. Your eyes have worked hard too. They have searched faces, screens, messages, numbers, tiny changes in expression, small clues, proof that everything is okay, proof that something is wrong. They may have learned to look at the world as though somewhere inside every ordinary moment there is information you must find quickly enough to protect yourself. Your eyes are allowed to see without searching. They can look at a room and let it be a room. They can read a message and let the words mean only what the words say. They can look at someone you love without scanning their face for departure. They can see a good moment without asking where the danger is hidden. The flame does not demand constant inspection. It remains warm whether you stare at it or not. Let your jaw understand that too. The jaw may have practiced conversations nobody else attended. It may have held sentences you did not feel safe enough to say. It may have tightened around replies you hoped you would never need. It may have prepared explanations, defenses, apologies, arguments, evidence, perfect words. There are conversations worth preparing for. There are also conversations that fear keeps rewriting because it hopes one version will finally eliminate vulnerability. You do not need the perfect sentence for every possible future. You will have words when real words are needed. You can ask for time. You can say that you do not know. You can clarify. You can change what you meant. You can speak imperfectly and still be worthy of respect. The grown hands do not require the jaw to defend you from imaginary conversations. Let the throat become a place where truth can wait until truth is needed. You do not have to pre-explain yourself. You do not have to rehearse being misunderstood. You do not have to prove your value to an absent audience. You do not have to make every future person understand every future choice. There will be times when you speak clearly. There will be times when you leave something unsaid. There will be times when a boundary needs very few words. There will be times when you ask for support. There will be times when your voice shakes and still tells the truth. Readiness does not mean knowing every sentence in advance. It can mean trusting that you will speak from the information available when the moment is real. Now, the shoulders. How many futures have they carried? someone else's feelings, someone else's expectations, your family's possibilities, work, money, health, relationships, the need to keep everyone okay, the fear that if you miss one detail, everything might become harder, the belief that relaxing is irresponsible. Shoulders can become shelves for imagined burdens. Some of those burdens may deserve action. Some are not yours. Some do not exist yet. Some belong to other adults. Some belong to tomorrow. Some belong to a future version of you who will have information you do not have today. You do not need to carry them for that version of you. Let tomorrow meet tomorrow's shoulders. These shoulders are here. They have this day, this hour, this real weight, no more than that. The candle is still in the grown hands. The smaller hands are not being asked to hold the whole world. Feel what happens around the chest when you stop demanding certainty from it. The heart has been blamed for being vulnerable when vulnerability is part of what makes relationship possible. You may have tried to protect it by imagining every ending. If you picture the breakup first, maybe love cannot surprise you. If you picture the rejection first, maybe hope cannot embarrass you. If you prepare for disappointment first, maybe desire cannot make you weak. But the heart does not become safer by practicing grief all day. It becomes tired. You can care deeply without rehearsing the funeral of everything you care about. You can love today without deciding how you will survive losing the person tomorrow. You can value your work without imagining its collapse. You can enjoy progress without preparing for reversal. You can let affection reach you while it is here. The heart can receive warmth without signing a contract with forever. The grown hands understand this. They do not promise the smaller hands that nothing will change. They offer something more usable. If change comes, we will meet change when it comes. Until then, we are here. The flame is here. The warmth is here. Let the hands themselves hear this now. Your actual hands. The hands that reach for the phone. The hands that type the follow-up message. The hands that refresh the page. The hands that search again. The hands that reopen the account. The hands that go back to the old conversation. The hands that sometimes act because anxiety cannot tolerate waiting. There are useful actions. There are also actions whose only purpose is to relieve uncertainty for a few seconds. You can learn the difference. Before the next unnecessary check, remember the candle, not as a rule, as a question. What do my hands actually need to do? Maybe they need to send the message. Maybe they need to make the call. Maybe they need to write down a practical plan. Maybe they need to close the screen. Maybe they need to prepare a meal. Maybe they need to touch something solid and return to the room. Maybe they need to do nothing yet. Doing nothing when nothing useful can be done is not neglect. Sometimes it is wisdom. The hands do not have to manufacture activity to prove that you care. They can cup warmth, they can wait, they can receive. Your stomach may take longer to believe this. The stomach often knows fear before the mind has finished naming it. A small change, a drop, a twist, a hollow feeling, a sudden heaviness when a message appears, a tightness before a result, a reaction before you have facts. The sensation is real. The conclusion attached to it may not be, you can respect the sensation without promoting it into evidence. The stomach can say, something in me is afraid. It does not have to say, therefore something terrible is happening. The grown hands can answer the body without agreeing with every prediction. I feel you. We do not know yet. If action is needed, we will take it. For now, the candle is here. The smaller hands are here. The present is still the present. The back has carried its own version of vigilance. There are days when responsibility feels physical, as though you must hold yourself upright against every possible problem at once, as though one moment of softness would make everything fall. You have probably proved many times that you can be responsible. You do not need constant tension as evidence. You can be capable while sitting down, capable while resting, capable while laughing, capable while enjoying something, capable while not thinking about the problem for an hour, capable while waiting for information. Your competence does not disappear when your muscles stop performing it. Let that truth travel lower, into the hips, the legs, the feet. These are the parts of you that move through real places. They do not walk through imaginary futures. Your feet know something the mind forgets. They can only stand where you are. Not in next month, not in the result, not in the conversation you fear, not in the future loss. Here, this floor, this room, this actual place. Your feet do not need a map of every road. They need the ground beneath them. There is wisdom in that. You have been asking the mind for a kind of certainty the body never needed. The body moves step by step. It eats one meal, sleeps one night, speaks one sentence, opens one door, makes one call, takes one real action, then another. Life is lived this way even when fear tries to live it all at once. The candle agrees with the body, one circle of light, one place to stand, one real moment. You can carry that into the rest of your day, not as a practice you must perform correctly, as a different relationship with what comes next. When the mind races ahead, the grown hands can return. When the stomach tightens around a possibility, the grown hands can return. When the phone becomes a doorway to another round of checking, the grown hands can return. When something good arrives and suspicion appears beside it, the grown hands can return. Not to eliminate the thought, to decide whether the thought deserves action. This is the change. Fear can speak without being obeyed. Hope can appear without being interrogated. Uncertainty can exist without being filled immediately. A good moment can remain good long enough to be felt. You may find that the old habit still begins automatically. That is not a contradiction. Old habits often arrive before new choices. The difference is that the habit no longer has to finish. You can catch yourself halfway through imagining the worst and decide that the scene has received enough of your energy. You can stop before the ending. You can leave the story unfinished. You can return to the actual room. You can remember the smaller hands. You can remember that they were never asking for another catastrophe. They were asking whether the grown hands would remain. They remain. This is what begins changing the quality of your inner world. Not one dramatic moment in which worry disappears forever. Many moments when worry begins and meets someone different. It meets you, a steadier you, a more discerning you, a you who no longer believes pain must be practiced to become survivable, a you who knows that real challenges deserve real support, a you who knows that imaginary challenges do not deserve endless suffering, a you who can say there is nothing useful to solve right now, a you who can say I need more information, a you who can say this is a genuine concern and I am going to respond appropriately. A you who can say, this is fear writing beyond the evidence. A you who can say, I will let the page remain blank. This is not passive thinking. It is mature thinking. It is giving each concern the amount of energy it actually deserves. Not every possibility deserves a full emotional rehearsal. Not every delay deserves interpretation. Not ever a silence deserves a painful story. Not every difficult thought deserves a second thought. Some can pass through. Some can remain unanswered. Some can wait beside the candle until reality brings more information. And something else begins to happen when you stop spending so much attention on imagined loss. You start having attention available for what is here. You hear the kindness in someone's voice. You taste the meal instead of mentally solving tomorrow. You finish a task and let completion register. You recognize when somebody treats you well. You hear your own laughter. You become aware that the feared phone call never came. You notice that the difficult conversation was manageable. You see that the answer was not the disaster you constructed. You realize that an hour passed without the thing you were bracing for. You remember that ordinary life contains long stretches that fear barely records. This does not mean life becomes perfect. It means your record becomes more accurate. You begin recording what supports you too. The grown hands can do that. They do not use goodness to deny difficulty. They let both be true. A hard thing happened. A kind person helped. I was uncertain. I found the next step. I felt afraid. I did not need to predict the entire outcome. Something disappointed me. I remained myself. Something went well. I let some of it reach me. This is a fuller life than the one fear offers. Fear gives you one narrow corridor. Watch for danger. Prepare for danger. Recover from danger. Watch again. The candle creates room around that corridor. There can also be curiosity, pleasure, connection, ordinary relief, useful action, support, rest, trust built from evidence, a future that has not been sentenced in advance. The smaller hands begin to understand that openness is not the same as carelessness. They are cupped now, not clenched. The flame has room. The grown hands have not moved away. This is the second lesson hidden inside the image. The smaller hands never needed to prove they could hold the flame alone. That was not the goal. They needed to discover that the grown hands would keep tending it. You do not heal into complete self-sufficiency. You grow into relationship with yourself, with trustworthy others, with reality, with support, with the ability to reach outward when something is too heavy, with the ability to receive without making yourself small, with the ability to protect yourself without remaining permanently defended. This is the warmth being passed inward, and as the hands become accustomed to it, words can become shorter. They do not need to explain everything anymore. Hay can begin to state what is true. I am here. My hands are here. This moment is here. The flame is enough for now. I can wait for facts. I can respond when needed. I can leave some questions open. I can protect what matters. I can receive what is kind. I can trust useful action. I can release useless rehearsal. I can let good moments reach me. I can be uncertain and present. I can be careful without being consumed. I can care without catastrophizing. I can think without predicting. I can hope without guaranteeing. I can prepare without pre-suffering. I can ask directly. I can wait honestly. I can choose boundaries. I can choose support. I can choose reality. My fear is not a prophecy. My body is not an oracle of disaster. A feeling can pass. A question can remain. A delay can remain a delay. Silence can remain silence. Today can remain today. My hands can open. My hands can receive. Warmth can stay. The flame can flicker. The light remains. I do not need every answer. I do not need every ending. I do not need every prediction. I need what is real. I need the next true thing. I can meet it. I can meet myself. I can ask for help. I can make a plan. I can stop when enough is done. I can return. I can receive. I can soften the grip. I can leave room. Warmth is here. Light is here. My hands are here. The smaller hands are learning. They do not need to close around the flame. They can cup it. They can feel it. They can receive without possessing. They can hope without holding the future hostage. They can rest from the work of prediction. The grown hands know what to do. They know how to tend. They know how to protect. They know when to seek help. They know when to wait. They know when to say no. They know when the useful work is finished. The flame does not need a forecast. It needs tending. The hands do not need tomorrow. They have now. Enough light, enough warmth, enough room. And there is one last thing these smaller hands are ready to learn before we let the candle settle into its final place. They are ready to discover that receiving what is good does not make them responsible for preventing its end. Receiving something good does not make you responsible for keeping it alive forever. That is what the smaller hands are ready to understand. For so long, they may have believed that once warmth arrived, Vigilance had to begin. Hold it. Protect it. Watch for the moment it changes. Prepare for the loss before the loss can surprise you. But the grown hands know another way. They know that care is not control. They know that receiving does not create a debt to the future. A kind moment can be received because it is kind now. A peaceful hour can be lived because it is peaceful now. A loving word can be heard without being forced to guarantee tomorrow. An opportunity can be welcomed without being asked to promise the rest of your life. You are not required to turn every good thing into a responsibility. The candle does not ask the smaller hands to keep the flame from ever changing. It asks them to feel the warmth while the warmth is here. The grown hands can tend what needs tending. The smaller hands can receive. This is the final loosening, not throwing the candle away, not pretending uncertainty has disappeared, only ending the old contract that said you must suffer in advance to be prepared. You can meet what is real when it becomes real. Until then, your life is allowed to contain what is here. Let these words become simpler now. I can receive what is good. I can let kindness reach me. I can let peace be real while it is here. I can enjoy without predicting loss. I can hope without demanding certainty. I can care without gripping. I can prepare without punishing myself. I can wait without writing the ending. I can ask for facts. I can choose support. I can choose boundaries. I can choose what is real. My hands can open. My hands can rest. My hands can receive. The flame has room. Warmth has room. Goodness has room. I am here. I am ready enough. I can meet life. I can meet myself. I can leave tomorrow unopened. I can hold today open hands, steady flame, warmth within, enough light, enough for now. And if your attention has wandered at any point, nothing important has been lost. You do not have to remember every sentence. You do not have to hold every idea correctly. The meaning is not another object you must grip. Take only what belongs with you. Let the rest pass. Perhaps later the old rehearsal will begin again. A delayed answer, a strange tone, a sudden worry, a good moment that feels almost too good to trust. You may recognize the first movement of the old story. This time, there can be another movement beside it. The grown hands, the smaller hands, the candle between them. You do not have to finish the catastrophe. You can ask whether there is something real to do. If there is, you can do it. If there is not, you can return to the life that is actually happening. This is how good things may begin to feel more available to you, not because your thoughts command life, but because fear is no longer taking every open space and filling it with loss. You may notice the kindness that was already there, the opportunity you would once have distrusted, the relief you would once have interrupted, the support you would once have minimized, the ordinary good moment you would once have rushed past while preparing for something bad. There is more room now, not a guarantee. Room, and sometimes room is where receiving begins. The smaller hands no longer need to squeeze the flame to prove they care. They can cup it. The grown hands are close. The warmth is shared inward. This was the lesson hidden inside the worry all along. The frightened part did not need a better prophecy. It needed to know who would be there when prophecy was impossible. You are there. That does not make you all-powerful. It makes you present. It makes you able to respond. It makes you able to seek help. It makes you able to protect what matters and release what is only rehearsal. So when the mind begins preparing for the worst, before life has given you a reason, you can return to what is true. There is a flame. There are grown hands. There are smaller hands learning a new way to hold warmth. You do not need to force the future into goodness. You only need to stop requiring yourself to live through pain that has not arrived. Then what is good can have somewhere to land. What is kind can be felt. What is peaceful can be lived. What is possible can remain possible. All is well. The smaller hands are open. The grown hands are here. The flame has room. The light was always meant to come home to your hands. The ones when the room is quiet enough for every imagined voice to become loud. You decide what someone might say. Then you decide what you will say back. Then you improve your reply. Then you imagine them misunderstanding it. Then you defend yourself. Then you become angry. Then you become hurt. Then you think of the perfect final sentence. The real person is nowhere in the room. Your nervous system has still attended the argument. Sometimes you finish these imagined conversations more tired than you would have been after speaking honestly for 5 minutes. There are rehearsals of disappointment too. You picture being overlooked before the decision comes. You tell yourself not to expect the opportunity. You explain to yourself why you probably will not be chosen. You pretend not to care. You begin planning how you will act when the answer is no. You may even feel a little safer when you can convince yourself that something good is unlikely. The mind thinks it has found a clever bargain. If I reject hope first, rejection cannot take me by surprise. If I expect the door to close, I will be ready when it closes. If I imagine the relationship ending, I will not be destroyed if it ends. If I assume the money will run out, I will stay alert. If I expect people to disappoint me, I will never look foolish for trusting them. If I prepare for the worst version of everything, nothing can catch me unprepared. It sounds logical when fear says it quickly, but look at the hidden cost. You pay for events before you know whether they are coming. You grieve relationships while they are still present. You experience rejection before anyone has rejected you. You feel failure before a result exists. You mourn opportunities that have not been decided. You fight conversations that have not occurred. You brace against tomorrow. Row while today is still asking to be lived. This does not mean you should become careless. It means pain does not have to be prepaid. You do not owe suffering a deposit. You do not have to hurt yourself in advance to prove that you are responsible. You do not have to make disappointment familiar so it will feel less shocking. You do not have to practice heartbreak to become strong enough for love. You do not have to distrust peace so you can survive change. There are people who became very skilled at anticipating emotional weather because once reading the room mattered. Maybe tension used to arrive without explanation. Maybe affection could become distance quickly. Maybe adults around you were unpredictable. Maybe criticism came when you were not expecting it. Maybe money was discussed with fear. Maybe calm never lasted very long. Maybe somebody you loved could be warm one day and unreachable the next. Maybe you learned that staying alert helped you adapt. A child does not sit down and create a philosophy about this. A child notices patterns. A child learns faces. A child listens to footsteps. A child notices when voices change. A child learns what kind of silence means trouble. A child begins trying to know what comes next. Sometimes this skill becomes so deeply practiced that the adult continues doing it in rooms that are different from the rooms where it began. You may now have more choices, more language, more experience, more ability to leave, more ability to ask questions, more ability to support yourself, more ability to say no, more ability to seek help, more ability to survive an uncomfortable answer. Yet some inner reflex may still behave as though predicting the mood of the room is the only protection available. This is why harshness does not help. If you attack yourself for worrying, you give fear one more problem to solve. Now the mind is not only trying to protect you from possible pain, it is also trying to protect you from your own judgment about being afraid. You do not need that extra burden. The worried part is not stupid. It is not weak. It is not defective. It is using a strategy. The strategy may be exhausting now. It may no longer fit your life. It may create suffering where no action is needed. Still, it developed for a reason. The mind was trying to protect you with the tools it had. It learned prediction before it learned trust. It learned rehearsal before it learned inner steadiness. It learned scanning before it learned how to rest inside uncertainty. That does not mean every frightening thought deserves your obedience. It means you can understand the origin without surrendering your whole future to the habit. Understanding is different from agreement. Compassion is different from letting fear make every decision. You can say, "I see why my mind goes there," without saying, "Therefore I must follow it there." You can recognize, an old protection pattern without building your home inside it. This is especially important after real hardship. If something painful actually happened to you, there is no useful healing in telling yourself that you caused it by thinking incorrectly. You did not create another person's harmful behavior by failing to stay positive. You did not deserve loss because you worried. You did not invite betrayal because you felt insecure. You did not produce every hardship by imagining it. Thoughts can influence how an experience feels, what you focus on, what choices seem available, and how much tension you carry, but they are not a moral verdict on why painful events occur. You are not required to blame yourself in order to grow. You are not required to rewrite history into a story where everything difficult happened because you were not peaceful enough. That is not healing. Healing can be much kinder than that. It can sound like this. Something happened. It hurt. My mind learned to guard against it happening again. That guard became overworked. Now I can teach it a different way to help me. There is dignity in that. There is also relief. Because if the habit was learned, you do not have to treat it as your personality. You are not just an overthinker, as though the word belongs on your birth certificate. You are a human being whose mind discovered that anticipation sometimes felt safer than uncertainty. That can change, not through force, not by insulting yourself every time fear speaks, not by pretending risk does not exist. Change begins when you stop automatically treating every alarming thought as a prophecy. A thought can be a thought. A sensation can be a sensation. A possibility can remain a possibility. A delay can be a delay. A quiet room can be a quiet room. An unanswered message can be an unanswered message. You do not have to complete every blank space with the most painful explanation available. This sounds simple when said aloud. Living it can feel unfamiliar because uncertainty leaves an empty space. The mind hates an empty space when it has learned that empty spaces are dangerous. Give it 10 unanswered minutes and it writes a story. Give it an unclear facial expression and it writes another. Give it a plan that depends on someone else and it starts making backup endings. Give it a peaceful afternoon and it asks whether it has forgotten something. The mind would sometimes rather have a painful answer than no answer. At least pain can be prepared for. At least a bad story gives the illusion of a map. Uncertainty gives no map. It asks you to stand in the place before knowing the next place. That can feel vulnerable. My dear, vulnerability is not the same as danger. Not knowing is not the same as losing. Waiting is not the same as rejection. A changed tone is not automatically abandonment. One mistake is not a life sentence. A difficult week is not a prophecy about the year. An uncomfortable feeling is not a forecast. A fear is not an instruction. The mind may still argue. It may say, "You do not understand." Every time I stopped paying attention, something happened. It may bring evidence. It may show old scenes. It may remind you of the day you were surprised by bad news, the conversation you never saw coming, the person who changed suddenly, the opportunity that disappeared, the financial setback, the diagnosis, the goodbye. The period when you thought everything was fine and then discovered it was not. Of course, those memories can teach the mind to distrust calm. Of course, part of you might decide, I will never be caught that unaware again. That promise can feel powerful at first. It can make you sharper, more observant, more prepared. It can even feel like strength. Then years pass, and the promise becomes expensive. Because never being caught unaware means never fully putting the guard down. It means good news is examined for danger. Love is examined for departure. Rest is examined for irresponsibility. Hope is examined for foolishness. Success is examined for how quickly it might disappear. Peace is examined for what it could be hiding. The guard becomes so committed to preventing surprise that it begins preventing presence. You are technically safe in the room, yet your attention is already in the next emergency. You are talking to someone you love, yet part of you is measuring distance. You are receiving something good, yet your mind is preparing for the receipt to be taken back. You are completing one day while emotionally living through 5 possible tomorrows. That is a great deal of life to carry at once. No wonder you become tired. No wonder concentration becomes difficult. No wonder small uncertainties can feel enormous when the mind attaches an entire future to them. No wonder a delayed reply can feel heavier than a delayed reply. It is carrying every old delay with it. No wonder one criticism can sound louder than one sentence. It may be touching every moment when being wrong once felt unsafe. No wonder calm can feel suspicious. The body may associate vigilance with competence. None of this means you must keep living inside that association. There is another way to be prepared. That sentence may create resistance immediately. Another way? What could possibly keep me safe if I stop thinking ahead? This is where we need to be precise. You are not being asked to stop thinking ahead. You are being invited to stop confusing thinking ahead with emotionally living through catastrophe before evidence arrives. You can plan without punishing yourself. You can protect yourself without predicting disaster. You can ask questions without inventing answers. You can prepare for a conversation without conducting it alone 20 times. You sit and review your finances without making fear your permanent accountant. You can care about your health without turning every sensation into a verdict. You can love someone without rehearsing their departure every time you feel close. You can hope without signing a contract that says hope must always be rewarded. Hope is not a guarantee. It is permission to let more than one future remain possible. Fear often gives you one future, the painful one. Then it calls itself realistic. Reality is usually wider. Sometimes things do go wrong. Sometimes they go differently than expected. Sometimes support arrives. Sometimes an answer is neutral. Sometimes the feared conversation is easier than the one you rehearsed. Sometimes the opportunity opens. Sometimes a relationship becomes clearer in a healthy way. Sometimes the body settles. Sometimes help is available. Sometimes you adapt better than your old fear predicted. Sometimes the outcome is mixed rather than disastrous. Sometimes life remains ordinary. Fear tends to forget the ordinary outcomes. It remembers shocks. That is part of its job. Your brain pays attention to what might help you avoid pain again. There is nothing shameful about this. The problem begins when the warning system is promoted into a fortune teller. A warning system can say, "Pay attention." It cannot accurately say, "I know exactly what will happen." A protective instinct can say, "Ask a question." It cannot honestly say, "Silence means rejection." A practical concern can say, "Make a plan." It cannot prove everything is about to fall apart. There is freedom in separating those voices. One voice points toward useful action. The other keeps you running after the action is complete. You may start recognizing the difference by how each one leaves you. Useful preparation often has an endpoint. You make the call, you gather the information, you write the list, you set the boundary, you ask for support, you choose what you can do. Then the task is finished for now. Catastrophic rehearsal has no natural endpoint because its goal is impossible. Its goal is total certainty. It wants to know nobody will leave. It wants to know money will always be enough. It wants to know the body will never change. It wants to know no mistake will have consequences. It wants to know no painful conversation is coming. It wants to know that if you relax, life will not surprise you. No mind can obtain those guarantees. So the rehearsal continues. One more scenario, one more check, one more interpretation, one more imaginary conversation, one more attempt to solve tomorrow before tomorrow exists. If you recognize yourself here, this moment does not need to become another reason to judge yourself. Recognition is enough. You can see the habit without making yourself the enemy. You can even thank the part of you that tried so hard. Not because every fear went, see correct. Not because worry deserves control. Because something in you has been working overtime trying to prevent pain. It may be tired too. Imagine what it would mean for that part to discover that preparedness does not have to feel like dread. Imagine learning that you can meet a difficult moment when it actually arrives instead of living through 100 versions in advance. Imagine trusting not that nothing hard will ever happen, but that you will have access to yourself when life becomes uncertain. That is a very different kind of trust. It does not ask the future to sign a promise. It changes your relationship with your own presence. This is where the deeper work begins. The voice that keeps showing you the worst version of tomorrow may have been trying to give you one particular feeling all along. Not happiness, not certainty, not control. Something more basic, something it may have wanted since long before you had adult words for it. In the next movement, we are going to meet that need directly, not by arguing with fear, not by humiliating it, not by forcing it into silence. We are going to place something in its hands that prediction could never provide. And when you see what those hands have actually been waiting for, many of the thoughts you once called warnings may begin to make a different kind of sense. It has been waiting for warmth, not another argument, not another warning, not another perfectly constructed explanation of why everything is probably going to be fine. Something deeper has been waiting for an experience that words alone could never provide. Picture your grown hands in front of you, not ideal hands, not fearless hands, not hands that have never trembled. Your actual hands, hands that have carried groceries, opened difficult messages, signed papers, held steering wheels, wiped tears, washed dishes, closed doors, reached for people, pulled away when something hurt, worked through ordinary days, and made decisions without knowing exactly where they would lead. These are hands that have lived. Imagine them cupped together. There is a small candle resting there. Nothing dramatic surrounds it. There is only the wick, the wax, the small pool of warmth near the center, and one steady flame. The flame is not large enough to illuminate an entire lifetime. It cannot show you every room you will ever enter. It cannot reveal what another person will choose next year. It cannot tell you whether every plan will work. It does not promise that nothing difficult will happen. It gives you enough light to see what is here. That is all. And that is more powerful than fear has taught you to believe. For a long time, your mind may have tried to light the whole future at once. It wanted every hallway visible, every turn explained, every possible loss identified, every possible response prepared, every hidden danger exposed before you reached it. That sounds like safety until you realize what it requires. To illuminate every possible future, the mind has to invent them first. It has to create scenes. It has to create endings. It has to create betrayals, mistakes, illnesses, losses, humiliations, shortages, arguments, disappointments, and departures. Then it has to walk through all of them mentally, hoping that one of those imagined journeys will prepare you for reality. No wonder you feel tired. You have been traveling through places that do not exist. The candle asks something much smaller of you. What is here? What is actually known? What needs care now? What belongs to this moment? The flame does not leap 20 years ahead. It does not run through the next 10 conversations. It does not inspect every possible door. It stays where your hands are. Now imagine another pair of hands, smaller, much smaller, cupped inside you. They may belong to a younger version of you, but there is no need to force a particular age or memory onto them. You do not have to decide exactly when they learned to brace,